Hello everyone, welcome to Data Analysis with Armoh. In today's video, we are going to perform data analysis on Orange. So you have a data set from Cargo, which contains a bank credit card account data set. So you're going to use this data to perform exploratory analysis and also explore predictive models that will help us to predict customers that are canceling their credit card from their data set. Okay, so without wasting my time, let's jump to it. All right, so now you have our Orange platform ready for our analysis. So now the first thing that you need to do is that you have to load our data onto this platform. Okay, so if you want to follow these tutorials, there's a link below in the description. You can just hit on that link, then to take you to Kaggle for the data. Then you can follow up with these tutorials. Okay, so now you bring on the file widget onto the platform. You click on it. Okay, so now the file widget here gives you the opportunity to go to the location where you saved your data set. Okay, so now my data set is bank channels. Okay, from Cargo. So I'll just click on it and I'll just load it on the platform. Okay, so now this one gives me initial information about my data. That is, my data is made up of 10,127 instances, 23 features with no missing value. Okay, very good. So now, first of all, our main focus is on the attrition flag because the existing customers and the attrited customers, they are going to give us the prediction. They're going to help us with with the prediction and helping us to predict customers that are likely to cancel their credit card. Okay, so now you make it our target. So now you select this one as our target. You can do that by just performing this action on a data set. Okay, fine. Then I don't need this column here, so I just skipped it. So you can just also skip it by just clicking on it, then just choose the skip, then to just not be not be included in your data. Okay, so when you are done with all this, then you can just press the apply button, then you just continue with the work. So now you have our data here. Okay, so now you can visualize our data by using the data table widget. All right, so now you just connect the file widget to the data table widget, then just press it. So you can see that our target, that is the attrition flag, has been highlighted here. Then you have other columns here that are going to help us with that prediction. Now that you have been able to visualize our data here, let's focus on cleaning our data. Okay, cleaning our data, we have some widgets here that are very useful to that process. So you have the edit domain, you have the input, then you have also the select column. Okay, so now what you're going to do first now is to select some of the columns that we need for our data analysis. So now you just bring in the select column widget. All right, then you connect our data to the select column widget. So you can see here that these are the columns that we have in our data. So let's quickly move this data to this side so that you can have a complete data on one side. All right, so now you're going to choose some of the data that are very useful for us in this analysis. So dependent count is very useful. So you just choose that one. You choose customer name. Okay, so these are the columns that will be very useful to us. Okay, so now let's try to highlight everything here, move them to one side. Then you try to take the ones that you don't want out. Okay, so now you don't need this. Just take it out. You don't need this one. You don't need okay. So I think the data now is not perfect for okay. So now you have to set our target. So the target cannot be part of this one. So now our target is now attrition flag. So you just make sure it is highlighted in the target session. Then you just close this tab. All right, so now you have selected the columns that you're going to use for our data. And this is part of our data cleaning process. Okay, so you can also perform or you can also edit some of the domains to our preference. So you can bring on the edit domain widget, then connect it to our data. Okay, so now we have client number here. So I think this one, there's no problem with it. Okay, so then can just go through. Okay, you have month on books. this is not clear, you can just make it card active month. So just change this heading card active month. So card active month. Okay. Then okay, so now you just leave it there. So you have total transaction count. The CT here is also not clear. So you can just make it count. So that when someone takes your data, the person will have maximum understanding about the columns that you have in your data. Okay, so I think these are the two confusing parts in our data. So after you are done, you just hit the apply button for the effect to take place in our data. Okay, so now data cleaning part, I think we are just going to end here. But there are other widgets there that can also help us with the data cleaning. We have the input widget. That one can also help you to input missing values in your data. Okay, so you can do that by adding data to your data set on average or most frequent value in your data, distinct value and others. So it depends on what you want to do or on how you want to add the values to your missing data. But fortunately for us, our data is not made up of missing values, so this widget will not be useful to us. All right. So now that you are done with our data cleaning, now I want to convert all the categorical data to numeric data for our data mining. Okay, so now what I will do next is I will choose the columns that are categorical that I'm going to change to numeric. Okay, so now I'll just use the select column widget and I'll connect my data set to the select column widget. Okay, so now this is my data. Okay, so now you can see here that we have gender, which is categorical, marital status, card category, we have attrition flag, we have income category and education level. Okay, so now this type of data can be divided into two. You have the ordinal and the nominal. So now first of all, let's do the ordinal data. Okay, so now I'll move this data to one side, then I'll choose the ones that I'm going to do first. So now let's choose the nominal data. The nominal data, we have marital status here being nominal. We have attrition flag here being nominal. We have gender being nominal. Okay, then we have card category here being nominal. Okay, very good. So now these are the data that you're going to convert to nominal data. That is numeric nominal data. Okay, so now you just click on it. Okay, so now you can do that by using the continuous widget that we have in our transform session. Okay, so now we connect our select columns to the continuous widget. Then the next thing that you do, so now you have our data here. So the next thing that you do is that you use the one hot encoding, which gives us two values, that is 0 and 1, representing uh, each each subset of the data. Okay, so now after you choose this one, you take the effect happens immediately. So you just close this one. You can visualize this one by selecting the data table widget. So now let's see. Okay, so now you can see that everything that you've done here has taken effect. So you have the 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, each representing each subset. Okay, so now let's close it here. Now you don't need this one, you just take it out. Okay, so now you are done continualizing our nominal data. So you can just rename this one so that anyone who takes your workflow will just know exactly what you're doing. So now you name this one nominal. Okay. All right, so now we are done. Okay, so now you just convert the other one to ordinal. So the same process as you did for this one. You just bring in our select column widget, then connect our data to it, then you select our data. Okay, so now you have educational level and also you have the income category being the ordinal That's it. So what you do now is that now you've chosen them already. So now you take our continuous widget. All right, then you connect this one to the continuous widget. Very good. So for this part, we're not going to use the one hot encoding. We're going to use the treat as ordinal because we want to convert it to numeric ordinal data. Okay, so now that you have it here, let's try to visualize and see if it took effect. So now let's see. Okay, so you can see that it has been continuous here to numeric values. Okay, so now that you are done, now you try to just put them together so that you can have our data ready for data mining. So you can do that by using the merge merge data widget. So now the first thing that you need to do is that you connect our main data to the merge data widget. So when you are done, then connect our ordinal continuous data to the merge widget. This one has now become our main data. So now you have to merge this data to the ordinal. Okay. So you forgot to name this one too. So now let's try to rename this one to ordinal. All right. So now you're going to merge this one to the ordinal data using the same process. So now you bring in your another merge widget. So you connect our data, our new data to the merge widget. Then you just connect this one to it. Okay, very good. So now you have a warning sign here, and this warning sign is telling us that some variables have been named to avoid duplicates. So okay, this is okay. All right. So now let's try to visualize what you've done here. Okay, so just connect it to this one. Now let's see. Okay, so now let's scroll to the other end to see very good. So now you have been able to merge all our data together to have one data. Okay, so when you are done, you can just save this data so that you can use it for our data mining. So you can save using the save widget. Okay, so save data widget. So just save your data here to any name that you want to use. So now I'm going to use bank channels 2. Okay. All right. So now I've saved my data. So now we proceed to our data exploration and data mining. Okay. So now you have this our main data here. So the first thing I'm going to do is you want to check the statistics of our data. So what you do here is that we connect our main data to the feature statistics widget. Then you open. So now this is giving us statistical information about our data. So you have the mean, the mode, the median, the dispersion, the minimum, the maximum, the missing value. So you can see here that our initially you found out that our data is not having any missing values. When you check the statistics here, this is showing that it's having what? It's not having any missing value here. So the percentage here is 0. Okay, so now you can see you have our data here. So you have income category. So the mode is less than 40K dollars. Okay, so the expression is 1.6 and all that. So you can explore all this data here using the future strategies. Okay, so you have the gender, you have the card category, you have the marital status. Okay, then you have income, have customer AGM. So the main age here is 33. You have 44 here, you have 46 as the median, the dispersion, the minimum age, the maximum that's 73 and all that. So this which is very useful, giving us statistical idea about our data. Okay, so now you can also check distribution to how our data is distributed. Okay, so now you can have the distribution widget. Okay, so now you connect our data to it as you did then you open. Okay, so now you split our data against the attrition flag. So you can check gender. So you can check here, you can see here that this blue here is representing the attrited customers here. The red is representing the existing customers here. So you can see that for female, you have less than 1,000 being attrited and you have more than 4,000 being existing. To the male side, you have less than 1,000 so being attrited and you have less than 4,000 being existing. Okay, so now you can check, you can explore for the age to, you can just, you have it here. You can also change the bin. So now you have a bin of two. So you can just increase the bin here to get a nice width for data distribution. Okay, so now you can see that I've put my bin width at 10. So now this one is giving me information. The blue is representing attrited customers, red is representing existing customers. So between 20 to 30, we have this for attrited customer, this age. Then we have for existing customers here. So you can, this one also gives you a little bit idea about the data that you have here. So you can just explore using this widget. Okay, now let's check the correlation. So now let's search correlation to check the relationship between our columns or the relationship between the data set. So now you connect it to this. Okay, then you open. All right. So you can see that this is giving us the relationship, showing us the correlation. That's the relationship between our data set. So it has compared all the columns here among themselves. So you can see that you have the average to open by credit card having a correlation of 0.931, which is a strong correlation. We have the next one known as the total transaction amount against total transaction count also, which is also having a stronger correlation. So you can just go through to check. Okay, so now we have our correlation. So now let's try to visualize this on a scatter plot to see how it looks like. So now you can have our scatter plot here. Okay, then I connect this one to the scatter plot here. Then I open. All right, so when you check, you found out that the total transaction count and the total transaction amount was having a higher correlation. Okay, so now after when you visualize them on the scatter plot, this is what we saw. So you can see that this blue part is representing the treated customers here, and the red here is also representing the existing customers here. So from this, you can also have a little idea that customers whose transaction count is uh, less than 100, they are likely to cancel their card. And those who are having transaction amount of less than 14,000 are also likely to cancel their account because you can see you have victims here, you have customers here that have already cancelled their account and they fall within that category. Then you can see that above 14,000, you can see that they are all existing. So that means if they have a huge transaction amount, you're likely to stay with the bank. But if they have less, they are likely to cancel their account. So this also gives you visualization of the data. So you can explore other components here based on the correlation values that we had in our data. Okay, so now you can also check the box plot too. Also, box plot too also. Okay, so now you have duplicated. So now just connect this one to the box plot here. All right, so now checking the age. Let's check the age for instance to see the maximum minimum if there's any outlier among our data. Okay, so now you can see that from the future statistics, you found out that the mean age was 46, and this one was also giving us almost the same value. So this shows that our data is consistent. So for the existing customers, you have 46. For the attributed customers, you have 47. Okay, then when you check here too, you can see that the maximum age was 73, so you can see that it falls within that range. And okay. All right. So now you can see that everything is working perfectly. So you can also use the box plot to find outliers of our data. So you can check for other category. You have the educational level. You have income category too. You can also check or to see to find out if there's any outlier in the data set. Okay. So for the exploratory session, I think this is the only part that we'll be able to cover in this video. But there are other visualization widget here that you can use. So at your own time, you can just go through to find out what it entails. So now let's begin our data mining process. So in our data mining process, you need to have a train data and a test data too. So now you're going to go by this formula. You're going to uh, divide our data 80% into training data set and also sample 20% to for testing. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to do that by using the data sampler. Okay, so now this one is going to help us to sample our data. But first of all, you have to load our prepared data onto the platform. So you do that as you did initially. So your file widget, then you choose your data, prepared data. Okay, the one that we stored. All right. So now you can see that now you have been able to convert this categorical data to numeric data. So now you don't need them anymore. So now you have to skip them, take them out of our data. So you skip all of them from our data. All right. So now they're not part of our data. And you leave out the attrition flag because that is our target. So you leave that one out. Okay. So now apply. You just close it. All right, so now you connect this one to the data sample and click on it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to sample 80% for our training data set. So 80% for our training data set. Okay, then you have this instance in our data. So you just sample. Okay, now let's try to visualize and see what you have. Okay. All right, so you can see here that our data instance has now reduced to 8,102 variable with two target, that is the attrition flag consisting of the existing and the treated customers. So now our sampling worked perfectly for us. So now the next thing that you need to do is that you need to try and test the model that will be appropriate for our data prediction. So in doing that, you move to the evaluate section where you have the test and score widget. So this test and score widget here is going to help us to know the model that will be suitable for our prediction. So now let's try some models in the model sessions. You have random forest, you have naive Bayes, you have logistic regression. All right, so now let's try to find out their score to see the one which is okay for our prediction. Okay, so now let's try to. Okay, so how we do this one is that you just connect your data, your train data to the test score, and you just connect our models to it. You connect our models to it. All right. So now that everything has now you can check the score. So now you can see here that this score is giving us the area under curve, the classification accuracy, the F1, the precision, the real code, the MC. So you can see the tree is having higher score here, same as the random forest and the naive Bay. So okay, so now this one is also predicting to us that these are the models that is going to give us almost or a precise prediction for our data set. So now that's wasting my time. Let's try to sample our 20% data set, then you do our prediction. All right, so the same process as we sample the 80%, do the same thing for the 20% too. So you just take our data sampler. Okay, take out the data sampler, then you connect our data to our data sampler. You just click on it, you take 20%, very good. For this instance, all right, so now let's check if it is working. Okay, so we have our data table here. Connect it to this one, then check. All right, so you can see that the instances has now reduced to 2026, which is working perfectly. So now you don't need this one, you just take this one out. Okay, bro. So now that you have our test data, what you need to do now is that you need to bring in the prediction widget, which is going to help us with our prediction. So now this is our prediction widget. Okay. So now that you have been able to find out the models which will give us an accurate and correct prediction, you just bring them to the platform, then you start with a prediction. So now you have decision tree here. All right. So now you have decision tree. You have random forest here, also being part of the models that you've chosen to do our prediction. You have naive Bayes. All right, so now these are the three that we are going to use for our predictions. So now you connect our 20% test data to the predictions. Then you connect all our models to our trained data so that they learn. Then out of that, we are going to give us our prediction. Okay. All right. So after connecting them, then you connect the models to the prediction widget. All right. So now let's try to visualize what our prediction is giving us here. Okay. So now let's connect this one to this. Okay. So that's perfect. So now this is our prediction. So now this is the original prediction that you have here. Then you have the tree giving us this prediction and giving us the same thing here and the prediction that it has made for us. So now the ones here are representing the actual customers here. The ones also are representing the existing customers here. Then the error that you have here, random for us to also predicted the same thing. Then each predictions that you had for us to is also here. Then you have the naive B also doing the same thing for us. So you just go through, then you find out the customers that are likely to cancel their credit card. So now that you have been able to provide this prediction, when you have any data in this form, then you want to find out whether the existing customers are likely to cancel their credit card, you just input it in the prediction model. Then you see it will just going to give you the predictions whether the customers are going to stay with the bank or they are going to cancel their credit card. All right. Okay. So now that you have been able to do our predictions, we just move on to visualize some of our data on Tableau to see how it also looks on that platform. Welcome to the Tableau platform. Okay, so data that you cleaned in the Orange platform was uploaded on this Tableau platform to perform a simple data exploration on the data. All right, so now this is our data source here. Okay, so the data source is from Orange, the data that you prepared in Orange. So now you have it here. All right, so now, okay, now so it has loaded here. But that is not our main focus. Our main focus is on the chart that you created in the Tableau. Okay, so now what you have here is that you have the card category and the marital status. So you have the blue, the gold, the platinum, and the silver. So now you can check here that you have the marital status here for divorced, married, and single. So now you know the total number of married customers that use blue. You know for single customers that you also use blue, and the divorced customers that also use blue. Likewise for gold, platinum, and silver. All right. So now you have also the card category, the total transaction. So now the blue has total transaction of 604,170. Then you have for total of silver. So silver has 41,459. Then you have for gold to 9,456. All right. So now this dashboard is interactive. So whenever I click on blue here, so all the components that is also related to the blue also moves to the other platform. All right. So to help us in our data visualization and then understanding the interaction between the data on the dashboard. All right. So now let's move to the next dashboard. So you can see here you have the income category and the gender. Okay. So now you can check here that for gender within the income category within 40K dollars to 60K dollars. We have the female here in the legend. They have the female here representing the orange and the blue here representing the male. So the female here are having a higher income in this category. So when you check the other one to 60K to 80K, you have the male leading here, the male also leading here. When you have less than uh, 40K, you have the female also living here, having a total number of 3,284. All right, so the same way applies to this one. So the attributed customer is based on gender. So you have the male representing what being in the blue color and the female being the orange color. So now the proportion, the composition that you have in that data set is also what being shown what on this data. And our dashboard is interactive. So when I click on the blue, you see that all the blue are moving on this platform. When I click on the orange, and all the orange also moving on the other platform. All right, then we move to the last one, that is income category of attributed customers, income category of existing customers. So you can see here the income category of the customers within the income of less than 40K. You have it here. So now you can also make this one interactive. So that means if you click on this one here, this one also has its number of what customers existing that are also within that category. So this one is giving us a total of 2,947. This is also giving us 612. That means that the total number of customers in the attrited session who have less income between less than 40K is 612, and in the income category you have 2,000. So that means they are more in the income, the existing customers. All right. So for the others, so you can also explore that one too to get information about our data. All right. So now this brings us to the end of this data analysis with Okay. So if you like this video, you can hit the subscribe button to get updates on the next video. Thank you very much for taking time to watch this video. See you in the next video.